Welcome to the JNS Iran War Brief. I'm Emily Schrader with all the latest updates from Israel for March 16th and 17th. Since the start of Operation Epic Fury, the White House reports the U.S. and Israel have targeted senior IRGC leaders, military bases, ballistic missile facilities, as well as nuclear facilities, which the regime has been attempting to rebuild. The campaign has already struck more than 15,000 targets inside the country, and officials say those strikes have already produced major results on the battlefield. Ballistic missile launches from Iran have been reduced by roughly 90%, while drone attacks have dropped by 95%. In the Persian Gulf, American officials say more than 100 Iranian naval vessels have been sunk or destroyed, significantly degrading the regime's ability to threaten shipping routes and international energy infrastructure. Israeli defense officials are reporting similarly dramatic results. According to Israel's defense ministry, the IDF has destroyed roughly 75% of the Islamic Republic's defense industries, severely weakening the regime's ability to manufacture missiles, drones, and other weapon systems. Israeli officials say the next phase of the campaign will increasingly focus on Iran's nuclear program, which remains the regime's most dangerous strategic capability. Israeli officials also warned that Iran is attempting to activate sleeper cells around the world to target Israeli diplomats and Jewish communities abroad as the regime looks for ways to strike Israeli targets outside Israel. Now, despite those losses, Iran continues to launch periodic attacks against Israel. Last night, the regime fired another ballistic missile salvo towards Israel, the seventh since midnight on March 16. According to initial military assessments, only a small number of these missiles were launched, and most were intercepted or landed in open areas. In Jerusalem, debris from an intercepted missile hit the old city of Jerusalem, lightly damaging the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This morning, a ballistic missile with cluster munitions hit central Israel, with debris falling in several locations, while no injuries were reported. Meanwhile, Israeli forces continue targeting Iranian military infrastructure and senior officials. This morning, the IDF struck and eliminated the former secretary of the National Security Council and one of the regime's most senior remaining leaders, Ali Larijani. They also eliminated the head of the Basij, and according to Israeli officials, almost all the Basij leadership. Iranian opposition reported over 300 Basij commanders and field leaders were eliminated. American forces are also continuing operations against the Iranian military infrastructure on Kharg Island. CENTCOM says U.S. forces struck more than 90 targets on the island, including air defenses, naval facilities, and military infrastructure used by the regime. Kharg Island handles roughly 90% of Iran's oil exports, making it one of the most strategically important locations in this conflict and a way to apply pressure on the regime not to close the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, the second major battlefield remains Israel's border with Lebanon. Overnight through today, Hezbollah launched countless rocket barrages towards northern Israel. One rocket directly struck a residential building in the city of Nahariya. Emergency crews rescued 5 people trapped inside the building, and 1 man was moderately wounded near the Kabri junction. The attack highlights the ongoing threat that Israel faces from the Islamic regime-backed Hezbollah, even as the war against the regime itself continues. At the same time, diplomatic efforts are underway to try to prevent this front from escalating further. Reports indicate that direct talks between Israel and Lebanon could begin in the coming days, aimed at establishing a ceasefire arrangement along the border, although officials say significant challenges remain. Turning now to Washington. President Trump said today that the military campaign against the Islamic regime has already achieved significant progress. Speaking to reporters yesterday, he said there is now practically nothing left to target inside Iran, and suggesting that we could be approaching the final phase. At the same time, the president acknowledged that uncertainty remains regarding the regime's leadership. Trump stated that the United States does not currently know whether the Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, is even alive, citing conflicting reports that he may have been killed, and it's known that he's seriously wounded. Now, those comments reflect both the scale of the damage inflicted on Iran's military infrastructure and the uncertainty surrounding the regime's internal stability. Meanwhile, another major story shaping this conflict is the Strait of Hormuz. The narrow waterway carries roughly 20% of the world's oil supply, making it one of the most critical shipping routes on the planet. Now, President Trump has called on allies to help secure the strait, following regime threats to disrupt shipping by closing the Strait of Hormuz. However, reports indicate that several U.S. allies remain reluctant to expand their military role in the region, highlighting growing tensions between Washington and some of its partners over how aggressively to confront the regime. Any disruption to shipping in the Strait of Hormuz will have significant consequences for global energy markets and international trade. Meanwhile, inside Iran, the regime appears to be tightening its grip as the war continues. Reports indicate that at least 500 people have been arrested by Iranian authorities, accused of providing information to Israel or U.S. forces. At the same time, the Islamic Republic is now entering its third week of an internet blackdown where they have removed all ability to communicate for the people as they attempt to limit communication and control the flow of information. Israeli operations have also increasingly targeted Basij and IRGC checkpoints in Iran, which are often used by the regime to enforce internal security and suppress protests. Those strikes are seen by some analysts as an attempt to weaken the regime's internal repression apparatus. That's our update for the day. We'll continue bringing you updates as the war unfolds. I'm Emily Schrader, and you're watching JNS.